Hey everyone, and welcome to Hooked on Needles and Crafts. Today we're going to be doing another itty bitty knit kit that I got from Five Below. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in. And for my new viewers, please consider subscribing, share, hit that like button, leave a comment below, and click on that notification bell for future videos. So today, you guys, we're going to be doing another knit kit. We are doing a da bomb today. Let's see what's in this kit. We've got some stuffing, our plastic knitting needles, a popsicle stick, a plastic needle for sewing, some felt stickers for the eyes and mouth, and then we have the spools of yarn. So, if you had not seen my haul video, check that out. I've got a bunch of kits that we are doing. This is 1 out of 7 at the moment, so we've got a lot coming. So click on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. But these are the colors. This is cute. It reminds me of those rocket popsicle sticks from the ice cream trucks. So I'm kind of excited to try these out, and it's always interesting to learn how they do the knitting when it's like such a weird shape, you know, in a non-conventional square shape. Here is the popsicle stick. It's got all the fiber fill on it. Be careful, I just feel like it's a little frayed. You might get a splinter. The items in these kits, you know, it's, how much is this? Was it $4? You know, they're not going to put high quality stuff in here, but I am impressed by these kits compared to the Dollar Tree ones, just letting you know. Alright, so let's just put this stuff back to our side here. Alright, comes with a booklet of instructions. This video is only a supplement to the instructions. If you would like to make da bomb, I highly suggest that you get this kit at your local Five Below. Hopefully it's still in stock. But yeah, so it's pretty illustrative. They show you how to do the different kinds of stitches that you're gonna need to create this project here. And then on top of that, they also provide a ruler for convenient measuring. Okay, so I'm just gonna get straight into this. I do new stitches at least 3 times step by step, and then I go through the instructions. If there's anything difficult, I'll explain that. If you need to speed up or slow down the video, click on the gear button in the corner. There's playback options to go fast or slow. If you need to not hear me talk, you can lower the volume on your device, and then there's a CC closed caption button. But let's get straight into this. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to start with the red. I mean, I'm only guessing which color to start with because in the instructions they do mention red first, but it's not like they say do red first. But anyway, I'm not a fan of how they have this put together because, you know, obviously it'll get messy. But we've got to measure a tail length, so let's do that now. And we can use the built-in ruler. Okay, once we have the length of our tail, I'm just going to switch hands here. You want the tail end, that's this piece, to go down this way, and you want your feeder yarn that's attached to the yarn to go up, and this is a good way to separate the two so you don't get confused, because you don't want to do the wrong end. You're going to run out of yarn in about 32 inches. But anyway, so let's pinch this end here. You want to grip on this fairly tightly, and then with your middle and ring finger just hold a bit apart like this, and this can be loose because we're going to take 2 fingers here. We're going to come up, twist, and go down to create this loop. Then I'm going to take my index and middle finger and just grab this piece of yarn and pull it through that large loop we made. So now what we have to do is make this knot smaller and towards our thumb. So keep pulling till you get the knot small enough or tight enough close to your thumb. Once you hit a stopping point, go on your left hand here, and you're gonna pull the tail end a little bit more, just till you feel it tighten up just a little bit more. You don't have to pull it all the way, like really hard. But now we have this huge loop. I'm going to take the feeder yarn, and make sure you take the feeder yarn and pull it to make this loop more manageable, like that. So we have our small loop, or smaller loop. Alright, so now I'm going to slip my needle into this loop, and we are going to slip this needle, the other needle, in the same loop. So this project, as like in almost every I think that's what they do with these kits, it's just a basic knit stitch, which is great because it is a basic knit stitch. So when you do a knit stitch, you have your 2 needles here. We have to cast on more loops on our needle, and so whenever you set yourself up for a knit stitch, you want to take your needles and make an X. Now the positions for a knit stitch is that your left needle is on top and your right needle is on the bottom, and they're crossing and always touching like that. And then the tail, you can just get out of the way. I want to gather up some yarn around my finger, and this is going to be your feeder yarn. What you want to do is, when we do a knit stitch, it's always going to be from back to forward counterclockwise. So from back to forward counterclockwise. Other stitches are going to have a different setup and a different motion with the feeder yarn. So, but for this project, we're focusing on knit stitching, which is basically this cross, right needle in the back, left needle in the front, and then our feeder yarn going from back to forward in a counterclockwise motion. And then I'm going to drag this feeder yarn down between the 2 needles like that, so it sits in here. Again, you always want your needles to touch. That'll make sure you don't lose any loops or your feeder yarn position. Alright, so from here you want to drag your left needle over and back your right needle. This is going to force the point, it's going to force the feeder needle to create a new loop, and I'm going to hopefully show you by this slow-mo. So again, slide down over the right towards the back, and you see that point? It's forcing that feeder yarn through the loop and creating this new one on the right needle. So now you have a loop on the left, loop on the right. Because we're casting on, we have to slip this loop onto this needle. So to do that, just take your left needle, stick it into that new loop that we just made, and then slip it off the right needle. So now we have 2 stitches on our left needle. So let's show you how. Let me show you how to do this again. Stick your needle into the next new loop like that. Set yourself up for a knit stitch. That's an X with the left on the front, right needle in the back. We're going to take our feeder yarn and go back to forward counterclockwise and down. You want to keep your needles touching. I'm going to slide the left over the right, and the point is going to push that feeder yarn through the loop. So now we have our 2 stitches on the left and we have our new stitch on the right. We're going to slip this loop over to the left loop. So just take your, left needle, so take your left needle and just pick up that new stitch we just made and slip it off the right. Okay. And this is going to be how you do it for as many as they need. Let me show you guys one more time. Stick your right needle into the new loop or new stitch. Set yourself up, make an X. Remember, always touching each other. Left needle on the front, right needle in the back. We're going to go from back to forward, counterclockwise, and down. Like that. And then we're going to slide the left over the right, always touching. If we didn't touch, you'd lose this. Alright, and then we're going to put this new stitch onto the left needle by taking, okay, let me see. You see this here? I accidentally pierced the yarn, so I have a little bit of thread here, and I can't move. I can't move my needle. Let me just undo this and redo it so you can see here. Make sure you clear your yarn. You don't want to accidentally poke through the yarn because it'll prevent you from making nice stitches. Alright, let me just do this again. Up to the point where I stopped. Alright, okay, so slide down. We're going to pull this through. Then I'm going to slip this stitch onto the left needle. Okay, so now we have 4. Right, so I would just repeat these steps over and over again until you get the number of stitches onto your left needle. Alright, so once you get the number of stitches required onto your left needle, we can now start the next row. So we're going to keep going back and forth as many times as the booklet says to build this popsicle. So to do that, when you have loops on your left needle, that means you have work to do. When we finish doing our stitches and it ends up on the right needle, that means we're done with that row. Okay, so let's show you how to start doing these knit stitches. They're knit stitches all the way. So once you get used to doing that, you're going to be able to do this project with, you know, at least some ease, because it's the same thing, and you can use that skill to make a scarf and really practice doing that knit stitch over and over and over again. Okay, so stick your right needle into this top loop here, set yourself up for a knit stitch. We're going to do the same things, back to forward and down. Keep your needles touching. We're going to slide the left needle over the right needle, but instead of casting on and throwing this one onto the left, we're going to remove that loop we used off the left. So creep your stitches up. This loop that we just used, just remove it off of your left needle. You can pull it, you can physically remove it, you know, however you do it. But the idea is, if you started with X amount of stitches on this side, you have to end up with the same number of stitches on this side, unless the instructions tell you different. Alright, so let's show you how to do that again. Stick your needle into the next loop. We're going to go back to forward and down, and then I'm going to slide the left over the right, creating this new loop onto the right needle, and I'm going to slip that left one off the left needle. So now we have one less here, one more here, keeping the same number of stitches. Let me show you this one more time. Stick your needle into the next stitch. We're going to yarn over, and we're going to slide the left over the right, creating a new loop onto the right needle. We're going to remove this loop off the left needle. So just like that. And then you're going to want to repeat this over and over again till you remove all the loops off your left needle. When you get better at this and you get the hang of it, there's going to come a point where you don't have to look at it, which I think is great also, because if you really wanted to practice, you can do a scarf using just the knit stitch. Sit there in front of the TV, watch your favorite movie or TV show, and then just practice doing this, you know, for the entirety of the show or movie. And the practice will help you get more consistent stitches, and obviously will get you to kind of memorize the rhythm so that this stuff becomes pretty much automated. I prefer knitting over crocheting because usually I don't need to see what I'm doing. When it gets to more complicated stitches, yes, you should look, but if it's mostly knit stitch, you really don't need to see what you're doing. Alright, so I put all the, I created all new stitches onto the right needle, and then we took them all off the left needle. So now what we have to do is just reverse our needles. Flip your right this way, and then exchange your left needle to your right, because we need to be in this position again. Every time you're ready to knit your next row, you want to have your stitches all on your left, and then your, I guess, freedom needle on your right. Alright, so I'm just going to continue this again. So we're gonna keep doing this until we get 10 of them. So hopefully we have enough yarn here. Alright, so I did about 10 rows of the red, and we have to switch to the white. So what we're gonna do, flipping this, we're gonna take the white, okay. So I'm just gonna do a slip knot. So what you want to try doing is, you can tie it, but I'm just gonna do it this way. So you want to take your ring, pinky and thumb, hold one end, and on the other, your index and middle finger, you want to hold this tight and this one loose like we did before in the beginning. Take your two fingers, raise up, twist it down, then take your index and middle and grab that yarn there, pull it through the loop, and then I'm just going to close this huge loop as close to the end as possible so that there's minimal waste. Okay, and then once we've tightened it down this side, we're going to just take this pinched area and pull it a little bit tighter, not too tight. Then we're going to hold on to this knot and make the loop more manageable. Okay, because we're going to put our needle in there. Now we are switching out of this, so we're just going to trim this off, leave about like an inch or so. Alright, then we're gonna take our needle and slip it through the loop. Now instead of yarning over to the red, we're just gonna slip on this white, and we're gonna pull the white through that loop like that. And then we're going to take this loop and take it off the left needle like we've been doing. Then you can take this little 1-incher piece and tie it around the white yarn maybe a couple of times. And then you want to make it tight enough so that you don't lose any stitching. I'm not pulling it on it too hard. Oh, I kind of did. And this slipped off my needle. Slip this back on. Alright, so now we can just use the white to continue doing these rows, and then of course you're going to want to continue doing this for 10 rows like we did with the red. And you don't have to worry about the little pieces sticking out. We're all going to sew that back in later, so it won't be too big of a deal. But that's how I would transition to a different color. I think it makes it a little neater. You could have just, you know, added the white yarn and left 2 tails. But this way you only leave one, the red one. So I try to go for the most minimal waste possible. Okay. And then we're just going to continue this. And I'll pop back in when we have to switch to the blue. and because I had this slip off, it did tighten a little bit, so I'm just loosening up that little loop. You can tell which side is going to be the prettier side because you'll have this stripe here. Right. Okay. I'm going to take my blue. Never know how to like undo this. Okay. Alright, so same thing that we did before. I'm gonna take the end piece here, ring, pinky, and thumb, and then index and middle finger. I'm gonna take my 2 fingers here. I'm gonna keep this tight, leave this loose. I'm gonna go up, twist it over and down. Then I'm gonna grab the yarn with my index and middle finger and pull it through that large loop. And then I'm gonna tighten that up by pulling it. Okay, trying to get that as close to the excess piece as possible. And then I'm gonna pull this like that. Then I'm gonna grab the knot and make the loop a little bit more manageable by pulling on the feeder yarn. And then so for this, I'm gonna cut this down here, down to 1 inch or so. And we're gonna set this white aside. Stick your needle into the first loop here. Instead of using the white to yarn over, I'm going to slip on this blue, tighten up the knot. Okay, and then we're going to slide this loop over the blue one and over the right needle, slip off the left, and then we have our colors switched. I'm just going to tie this around a couple of times to not too tightly, just to make it secure. Alright, and then we can continue with the blue. So let me just gather up some yarn here. Of course, it's always a battle with spools that are wound up like this. You could always make them into balls. There's also these machines that can make the spools come out, the yarn come out from the middle, like I like it, but you know, this is only a $4 project, so yeah. Alright, so we're gonna continue doing our knit stitches. We will hide any excess pieces when we sew the popsicle together, so you don't have to worry about that. And this has a different length. This has a different number of rows compared to the other two, so just be mindful of that. just showing what it's going to look like after your first row of the changed color, because you can tell which side is going to be the cleaner side. So another tip that you might enjoy is when we had switched to white and we tied up our thing here, this is where we started our white. So when you switch to blue, you want to make sure that you're on the same side. You have this excess piece facing the same side when you change to white. That way you know for sure you're going to get this nice clean change here, because if it was the wrong side and you started to change the blue when we were here, this red line and white line you're going to see here happen to the blue and white, and you don't want that because, you know, it's not clean. So that's a tip. If you know you've changed your white when it was facing this way, because you have your knot start on your left, your right, then when we change our blue, we want to make sure that we're facing the same way and our knot is on our right. If that makes any sense. Hopefully that did. Alright, so I'm just gonna do this row and then we're gonna finish doing this triple color rectangle in silence. Just wanted to show you guys what it'll look like once you're underway with the blue. Forget the popsicle, you can make a flag with the red, white, and blue. Right, so you can see now you have this stripe of blue white on this side, on the wrong side, and on the nice side we have our nice transition. So now I'm just going to complete the rest of this in silence. Alright, so I completed 10, 10, and I guess this is 6, but at the same time I just measured the length of this, and it's not where it needs to be yet. So I'm just going to make the blue a little bigger to meet the dimensional requirements. Alright, so it's kind of close. I'm going to stop here because I still need the blue to make 2 more pieces, so I don't want to like keep going. If it's just short, it's just short. But I'm going to show you guys how to cast off. Oh no, I lost a stitch. If you lose a stitch, it's no biggie. Just find it, go back in, and redo the stitch. Alright, close call. Alright, so let me show you how to cast off. So we're just going to knit 2 stitches. Right, so 1, 2. Then we're going to take this first stitch and we're going to leapfrog it over this stitch and pull it off the right needle. So you have 1 loop left on there. Then we're going to knit another stitch. So we have 2 stitches again on the right needle. I'm going to leapfrog this loop over that one and off the right needle. So we're back to 1. I'm going to knit 1 again. Now I have 2 stitches on the right needle again. I'm going to pick this up and leapfrog it over that stitch and off the right needle. So I have 1 stitch left. So you want to repeat this every 2 stitches on the right, leapfrog 1 over, and having to do another knit to get 2 back onto the right. And we're always going to leapfrog the 1 after we get 2 stitches on the right needle. So you just keep doing this until you get through the whole row. And then I'm going to show you how to cast off. But yeah, rewind this section here if you are having difficulty doing the cast off. It can get a little confusing. But I'm really liking the colors right now. Definitely bringing back some childhood days, getting the rocket popsicle. I think my favorites were the rocket and then the creamsicle were my 2 favorites. For some reason regular, like sometimes I would get the ice cream sandwiches, but when it came to like milk ice cream, I like to get that at the store. But when it came to the ice cream chucks, I always went for, you know, the sherbets or sorbet type ice creams. I think this Rocket's more of a sorbet or an icy, and the creamsicle's more of the sherbet. Sometimes they had the rainbow sherbet I would get. Alright. Okay. So when you have your last stitch left, let's see. I don't think you're gonna need any yarn for this, so I'm gonna cut this about 1 inch or so. Okay, we're gonna yarn over. I'm gonna take my left needle, leapfrog this loop over the yarn over, and pull that all the way out. Then we're gonna tighten this up, and we'll hide this when we sew it. So we have our first rectangular piece. Now we have to go in and we're gonna do the arms, and those are smaller rectangles. So we're gonna need a tail for each one of these. So let's get that. Okay. And like we did before, you want the tail to be down and you want the feeder yarn to be up. We're going to hold this down tight, this loosely, come up with 2 fingers, turn it down, then with the index and middle, get that yarn, pull it through the loop, and then we're going to tighten this up. And pull the tail end just to tighten it a little bit more, and then I'm going to grab the knot, I'm going to pull the feeder side, and I'm going to make it a more manageable loop. I'm going to slip my needles in here. So let's cast on the number of stitches that we need for this rectangle. Alright. To cast on, again, get your needles in an X. We're going to go back to forward and down, slip over the right, then we're going to put the right loop over the left, or onto the left. We're going to do this again. Alright, so now I'm just going to continue this till I make the length that it needs to be. Alright, so I have my rectangles. What we're going to do is take the larger one and we're going to fold this in half, and we're going to make sure that the prettier side is on the inside. So fold your popsicle in half, and then we're going to sew around the edge of the rectangle. So I got to take my plastic needle out. Alright, and I'm just going to sew with the red. Hopefully it doesn't show through on the other side. So I did think about that when we were constructing this, and you know, what it is. So sometimes you don't plan for that. Sometimes the sewing, you can't even see the stitching, but I have a feeling you're going to see the stitching. If you wanted to, you can sew enough to do the red and then cut it and start sewing with the right. We're going to see. Alright, so we have to sew around the edge of the rectangle, and then we're going to leave a gap so that we can stuff. So what I'm going to do is we're going to sew. You can probably mark this with a marker, but I'm just going to try to go by visuals. So we want a little arch. Just have to kind of envision it. Just going to stick this in here, and I'm going to do straight stitching. And I'm going to try to make my arch. And then we're going to walk it back, because there's not really any other way unless you just want to cut it, but I don't want to do that. You see, I'm kind of trying to make an arch. Okay, then we're just going to go back where we came. Still trying to make this arch. Okay, now it's just a straight sew for the rest. We're going to leave an opening for the stuffing. You want to try to get the excess pieces to not be on the prettier side. You want it to be on the outside, the wrong side, so that when we turn this inside out, the excess pieces will be hidden. I'm really hoping that this doesn't look bad with the red. I used to always hate it when we got the rocket popsicles and the colors bled into each other. I think the white bit was like a lemon, and the red was either cherry or strawberry, and then the blue was blueberry. I just didn't like it bleeding into each other. It wasn't perfect. That might be like my control freak in me. You know, that's okay. That's how I've kind of been. So I don't know, hopefully when we flip this inside out, the red won't be as super noticeable. I have a feeling it will, but oh well. Alright, and then we're gonna sew a little bit long ways. Okay, I'm not sure where the popsicle fits in all this, so I'm gonna stop a little bit before the middle, just in case we have to fit the popsicle in the middle. Alright, so after that, we're gonna turn the this rectangle inside out and then fill with stuffing. So cross the fingers. Alright, our little arch is an arch, which is good. And you can kind of see the red a little bit. I think if I were to pull this tighter, it might disappear. Oh well. Yeah, maybe if you did tighter threading, but I'm already here. So, oh wait, I think I can pull it a little bit more. Okay, and then we're going to fill with our stuffing. You can take this opportunity to kind of shape it. So let's do that. Alright, so I'm just massaging this in place, trying to get it into the archway. Okay. Then I'm going to insert the pop stick. I honestly really want to tie the hands first because then we can knot this inside and hide the knots in here. So I'm actually going to remove this right now, and I'm going to thread up this right here, stitch the arm pieces to the sides, which is a typo they have there. And the problem is, let's see, I'm going to try hiding this excess piece by just weaving it in and out of the stitching, and I'm just using my plastic needle to do that. Okay, just keep weaving this in and out. So not so fun. You could just trim a little bit of it. I might just do that because I don't want to sit here. It's easier to weave yarn when you're crocheting versus knitting because there's no hook. Alright. So I'm going to sew this to the sides. And these arms, they're a little flimsy. But I'm doing it. We're gonna hide. I'm gonna go in here. Okay. And I'm gonna try to tie a knot somewhere. So it's good if you do this before you seal it. They have you sewing the arms after you seal it. But when you're in here, you could do whatever knot you want. And then you just tuck in the ends like it never happened. And there you go. Let's do the other one. I'm gonna tuck in these pieces here. All right, now we're gonna try to put this on the other side in the same space. I tend to have difficulty making it even. I'm not that good like that. All right. And we're gonna go in here, and the same thing with the other arm. Just make a moment to tie your knot. I'm just gonna tuck this all inside. Then I'm gonna grab my, all right, insert the popsicle sticks and stitch open the, all right, I mean, we're just gonna shove this in here. I'm gonna put the side that, all right, maybe this way. It's because it was kind of splintery. I'm kind of putting this inside the stuffing. I'm gonna thread this up, and then I'm gonna try to sew tightly around it so that it doesn't slip out, but it might, because all it is this holding it in place, which I don't think is very sturdy. Right, and you're definitely gonna see the stitching. I'm not that great of a sewer, so I'm sure there's a way to sew this and hide the stitch. We are almost done, you guys. Comment below, let me know what you think. Where did you stumble up? And how far did you get? Or if you completed it. So this is how I do my knots. I don't know how to hide red, but yeah. And then what I'm gonna do is stick this back into the project, have it come out from another opening randomly like this. Right, I'm gonna squish this out. We're gonna cut this guy flush, and you can always squish it to where it disappears. Alright, so here's our popsicle stick. Alright, so after we assemble the body, you do put on the eyes. And you can stitch them with embroidery floss if you want it to be there nice and secure. I would pick the side of the popsicle that's nice. So So in this case, let's just choose this side, and I'm going to put the mouth first, because I'm finding if the mouth goes in between the eyes, this is a good place to start. Alright. I'm just holding it down for a few seconds against that popsicle stick. That way the surface will stick to as much of the yarn as possible. Then we have to get the eyes next. Okay, same thing, pinch it down for a few seconds. Make sure that the surface sticks onto that yarn. We just have to stick on the other eye. Alright, and here is our popsicle stick, our da bomb, and it is. So this is how much yarn that I have left. I'm just going to put these back. These are going back in the box. I like to keep all my tools in case I need it down the road. It's always good to do that. But yeah, comment below. Let me know what you think of da bomb. So cute. So this is I have, let's see, I have 6 more kits left, so stay tuned, click that notification bell, and I don't know which one I'm doing next, but we'll take a look. At any rate, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Hooked on Needles and Crafts. Please share, like, and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.